But Rob drinking heavily after work because this case is so traumatic, and then not sleeping, and then just being hungover in court, picking that up. Like, I'd be like,
Yeah,
I've pretty much done that.
That was so funny. I made a TikTok actually about the Dublin Murder Squad earlier today, and the theme of the TikTok was like, I need an extra session of counseling because I think these are absolutely brutal.
Yeah, have like a plot hole a little bit.
All right.
And you guys can.
Let's go beyond the first page. Let's go beyond the first page.
Welcome back, Second Pagers. This is Beyond the First Page podcast with siblings Phoebe, Phil, and Isaac. I'm Phoebe.
I'm Phil.
I'm Isaac.
And this is Club Meeting 57 in the Woods by Tana French. And this is the last book in our first chapter of 2026. I think we saved the best for last on this one. And it just as a quick reminder, if you don't want this book in the woods to be ruined for you, really recommend that you read the book and then listen to the discussion for the podcast, because we will be talking about spoilers and major plot points throughout. And I wanted to ask you guys, because I think when we read, Phil's mentioned this many times, when you read any book that's not from America, it's fun to talk about the different cultural differences from the book. And so I wanted to ask you guys what book you've read that made you want to travel to that place. And I'll start because actually in 2025, I got to go to the place that inspired me. And that's Jeju Island in South Korea. Island of the Sea Women is based there. And actually, the book we read by Hong Kong, We Do Not Part, was also based there. That book did not make me want to go to Jeju, but Island of the Sea Women did make me want to go to Jeju. And so I got to do that actually in 2025, which was awesome. So hoping to read a book this year, maybe that inspires travel for me. Phil, what about you?
Yeah, I think I'm also going to pull from our book list. It was Playground by Richard Powers in the French Polynesian island, Makatea. It was sort of like this island sort of stuck in the past that's tropical, very community oriented. It was like Moana, like what you would imagine like Moana's island to be like. And so I think that
Wait, but was that a real island?
I think so. I think Makatea is real, but I know French Polynesia is real.
Even if it wasn't, that was up on my list too for just French Polynesia.
It is a real island.
Okay.
Yeah.
Isaac, what about you?
I have read, this is a little foreshadowing too, but I read a retelling of the Odyssey. It's like all from Odysseus's point of view. It's a whole series called The Adventures of Odysseus, and that really makes me want to go to like all the Greek islands. And I also got to go to a couple of Greek islands for my honeymoon a couple years ago. But there's still like so many of them. And if I could just spend the rest of my life going to all of them, I probably would. They're all really cool.
Yeah.
But
like sailing the Greek islands.
But just like exploring the Mediterranean would be sick.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think a Mediterranean cruise would actually be kind of a fun way too, because you get a little taste of everything and then go back and see what you want. Cool. Okay. Well, hopefully that'll inspire our 2026 travels, or in the future. I always like to start the year thinking about like, where could I go this year? So, and literature sometimes gets me there. So that's awesome. Isaac, before we get started talking about In the Woods, would you summarize it for us in 15 seconds?
Yeah, so In the Woods is about Detective Rob Ryan investigating the murder of this girl, and it's very unique because the murder took place in the same area where he, as a little kid, had a very traumatic experience. 2 of his friends disappeared, and he was found like covered in blood. So now, fast forward to the future, or to the present day, he's a detective for the Dublin police, and he's investigating this murder. He works with his partner, who he's like really close friends with. But as they are investigating this, they have just like such a charged psychological like impact from this murder that they kind of end up having a falling out. And they end up discovering who committed the killing. It was the sister of the girl, and she is like a psychopath and has been manipulating everyone in her life. And Rob was actually one of the kind of victims of her manipulation.
Yeah, great summary, Isaac. This book, like I said, I think we saved the best for last on this one. I think even if you don't like detective novels, you would like this book because it has a lot of character development. It has great writing. It's set in Dublin, which is a cool location, as we mentioned. I think I wanted to start by asking because Phil and I had reread this to decide if we wanted to bring it on the podcast, and I think in the rereading of it, I felt that the killer was more obvious, that the sister was more obvious because she was very manipulative from the start. Um, and it seemed apparent to me, but I'm curious. But the first time I read it, I did not feel that way at all because there's a lot of other things going on. Like there's the past crime that Rob is trying to solve with his own past. There's this relationship with him and Cassie, his partner detective. So I wanted to ask you, Isaac, specifically, because this was your first time reading it, if you thought that was obvious and if you thought it was well done, like if the killer was well done.
No, I had no idea. I didn't see that coming at all. Like I think the obvious thing was to have it tied to his experience as a
The
kid.
older case.
At some point, like that gets uncovered and gets solved. So no, I did. Her name was Rosalind, right? The sister, I think.
Rosalind.
Rosalind.
Yeah, Rosalind.
I didn't see
Yeah.
it. Like she was just she was a nobody to me. She was just
Auxiliary
a character that was just like
character, yeah.
being interviewed. Um,
Right. And was weird. Like, did you find her to be weird though?
like thinking back, I guess kind of, but like even when Cassie was like, it's her, I was on Rob's side being like, no, she just had this. Yeah, maybe she's a little, thinks she's older than she really is, but
Yeah.
she just had this like traumatic
Right.
because she was like kind of flirty,
Yeah.
like in promiscuous a little bit, or like seemingly promiscuous, but
With
yeah,
detective.
or just
yeah.
she was described kind of that way. Like I think she was scantily dressed when they would like go to their house to interview them.
Yeah. Well, because
like
she was playing him.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, when he stops, or when she's in a room with somebody else, like she stops doing that. Like it's really,
Right.
which is crazy. And I think
It
you
was all
realize
act.
that reading it again, and I think actually Tana French does this in each one of these, where it's I think she keeps the reader guessing because of the preponderance of evidence of just like there's so much, like Isaac said, his past. I mean, there was shady dealings going on with the highway,
The
as well.
government
So
and
like
the
that was
highway.
all real. It just wasn't pertaining to this murder, and
Yeah.
that I think is really well done, because I do think that that's something that's a bit realistic. And she says it in one of her later ones where she's like, every witness is lying about something. Nobody is really super honest with every single thing. Whether it be, what did you do last night? And you don't include the coho that you scarfed down right before bed. Everyone's lying about
Right.
something. And that's what makes this detective, this obvious thing, maybe not so obvious. I don't know. I think it's interesting to see, because there were people just lying about random stuff here.
A lot of different
You're
stuff.
just like, why
Yeah.
did you lie? Like, if you would have just come out and said that, that's not a big deal. And you just, I guess maybe you don't realize the stakes of murder are on the table. You're just like making yourself seem pretty guilty. But yeah, I mean, I think it's just really realistically done, in my opinion.
Yeah. Isaac, I think you said it perfectly, where I, as the reader, even the second time around, was very focused on the disappearance and the fact that his friends were still missing after all these years.
Yeah.
The fact that he was a part of that and then this happened, you're like, that has to be solved and addressed in this.
Like, I think that is just so well done. Like we talked about that a little bit, but it was tough to talk about this too much without giving anything away. But those kids disappear. His mind from 12 years old and before is like essentially locked. It was so traumatic.
Wiped.
So he has no idea what happened. Can't remember. And he becomes a policeman, is now investigating something within like 100 yards of where all this happened to him. And it turns out to be not connected at all. And like nothing happens to it. Like nothing new is discovered.
Right. Well, the rape is discovered, so that he does figure
but that's
out,
unrelated
which also leads you to
potentially unrelated to his like disappearance.
Yeah.
For sure. But you kind of find that out. So then you're thinking about
Yeah.
that, being
And it
like,
was the
okay, what's the
girl's
connection
dad
now?
was part of that. So there is like it's connected.
Right.
But the book ends in that like just the disappearing kids is unsolved, like not addressed.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Well,
it's
no, I think
what?
I think that like leads. I think that is like a meta point that I think like this entire book is about like just like what the happens when you literally have no closure on anything in your life. Like he has no idea. Like and it destroys him throughout this novel.
Yeah.
Like it destroys him. And it's like not
Mhm.
even like it sacrifices his partner, is like mental health, his sleep. He isn't able, like he completely misses the
His
crime.
job.
Yeah, he completely misses everything because like he has no closure. And that is like an insane point. And I think we're left with just a little taste of that when she doesn't give us any closure about what the happened.
Yeah.
And it's like, and I think that like
Welcome to his
frustration,
world.
right? Like that is actually a really well done thing where we're all just like, what? Like, how do you not
Yeah.
solve that? Like, that's what he's literally living with every day.
Yeah.
And like,
Yeah.
so I think that was like a really well done sort of maneuver.
Yeah,
there.
I totally agree. It's so cool. And I can't think of another example of a book I've read where the author like gives you this really juicy story and then it's just like, yeah, sorry, nothing happens.
Doesn't get solved. Yeah.
Like the only thing I can think of is like Game of Thrones, where he's just like, "Yeah, you guys," and doesn't finish
He
it.
like didn't finish the whole series.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
that left a
But
bad
that's
taste in my mouth.
unintentional.
Yeah,
Yeah, this is like very intentional. Yeah,
Right. And it's amazing that she could like it's a book that I wanted to reread and wasn't frustrated with. Like,
right.
you know what I mean? Like I still was I think to your point, I think you talked about this a little bit, Isaac, in the opener. There is an element of like, okay, maybe the next book this gets addressed. And then it's like, no, this series is standalone novels about this, like the Dublin Murder Squad. So you don't get it. But I think it's amazing. Like she does it in such an artful way that you're almost happy at the end that she doesn't close it, because it is just like you said, Philip, this meta point that she's making. And it's so unique too, Isaac, that it's like no other detective novel is really leaving a crime unsolved at the end. And there is some realism to that too, because crimes go unsolved.
right.
Especially if the only witness can't remember what happened. Like it's unrealistic that he would suddenly have this epiphany after all these years and suddenly solve the murder, you know? So it's like, okay, there's literary justice, I guess, in that as well.
Yeah, so much in this book I think was done so well. Like I love that Rob and Cassie, just the characters in general, I thought were great. Like in the Late Show, we talked about kind of a little bit less character development. So much character development with these two and their relationship, and I love that they weren't like all-star detectives. They were just the two that happened to get this case. That's not like where they were bad. They were just like two, as far as murder detectives go, Joe Schmoes. I love that they had this brother-sister friendship that as soon as they slept together fell apart. I think that it's very realistic.
I think if you read that again, though, I had this feeling the first time, and again when I read the second book, I was like, bring Rob back in because it's focused on Cassie. Like I was cheering for that relation. Like they were very good together. I wasn't maybe
reading it the first time.
Yeah, well, even the second time, I wasn't really for the romance. I wasn't like this, but I was like, you guys are really good friends. Like this is like a very strong relationship, and it's just so frustrating because the second time around, I mean, it is all on Rob. He lets it the relationship up. Like I do think you can talk through things like that, but I think it's super realistic because I think most of the time
because of how he behaved.
Right.
Which is just like a very like you've all seen people act this way. You're like, just be normal. Just like talk about it for a second, and then you guys can go back to like, yes, maybe we made a mistake.
To being friends.
But the fact that he like lets it just spiral out of control, and it was kind of already at the end of this like spiral that he's had from having to investigate this very similar murder to his own childhood trauma. I
It
thought
just
was like
wasn't.
really great.
And he's like jealous of Sam, but
Yeah.
he's like the problem. Like he's like, I won't talk to her,
Yeah.
but that she likes him. It's just wild.
So it's interesting, Phil, that you were still rooting for them the second time around. I think I found a lot more fault with him the second time around, and I was very happy that Tana French went that way. Um, I'm glad they didn't end up together, like Isaac was saying, and I wasn't rooting for them the second time around because I think he was such a bigger jerk in my eyes the second
But
time
I'm not
around.
rooting for their romance. I think they're great
You were
I'm
rooting for their friendship.
friendship. Yeah, like just
Yeah.
them being like they're
Good point.
completely dissociated. I think they work very well together platonically to the point where everyone around them is like, you got to be sleeping together. That is a
Because you guys are such good friends.
yeah, like that's a great
Yeah.
relationship. And she's funny too. Like she's really easy to like, especially when you're. I think to be fair, if you weren't living inside his head, he probably would be a bit easier to root for
True.
as well. But you just see this
Yeah.
devolving nature.
You get really in his head.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Which
a good point.
you get in his
Yeah.
head, and that's so well written as well because, like we talked about, it's just like the angst that you feel as the or at least I felt as the reader it's just like
In his
palpable.
mind.
Like I couldn't. Like
Right.
I was trying to
Yes.
listen to these at work, and I was kind of like just like hanging out listening. I like couldn't listen to this at work because I was like, I cannot focus on anything right now.
Yeah. Crazy. And I think that it's crazy that this mystery, the murder and the crime, I mean, it's fantastic. And we're talking about the characters right now. Like this book has everything in my eyes.
Yeah.
The detective in it, it's like, I do think there's the whole DNA squad with Sophie and the coroner who's like sort of hates everybody, which I think is funny.
that likes them.
And that's like also like everything is really well done there too.
I'm curious, Isaac, because I would call you like a detective novel junkie a little bit. And I'm curious how this compares. And like you were talking about last time we talked, like your comfort book is a detective, like a Renee Ballard detective, something you can burn through, not a lot of like back character development, more so like focus on the crime. But this book, I think, is objectively better, like more well written, more well rounded. But how does it compare for that comfort book that you're seeking when you go to a detective novel?
Yeah, this is just a different caliber of book, I think.
Yeah.
This one, I did not feel comfortable reading this at all, which I think is like, and I say that in like the most complimentary way
good
possible.
way.
Like that is amazing writing.
Mhm.
So I think it's just a different, if you could like start breaking down this, murder mystery detective novel genre into multiple different things. And I think we really did a really good job for this podcast. It's got 3 ones that would fall into 3 kind of different categories of
categories.
Detective novel genre. With this one, I think we can all agree being like the creme de la creme. I will say one negative thing, and it was not about like the book. I have like a plot hole a little bit.
All right.
And you
tell
guys
us more.
can call me out on if you remember something differently. But so they like are spinning their wheels for months, right? You as the reader are following Rob. He's like essentially become an alcoholic. He doesn't sleep. You could feel the dreary like Dublin weather. He's like sloshing around in the rain all the time. Like it's just everyone is low, morale is low. And then he does the camp out, thinking like something will like spark it. And I can't remember the entire sequence of events, but he comes to remember the point that the kid's trowel was missing. And that was the murder weapon. So he calls everyone back out to the scene. Him and Cassie aren't speaking to each other, and they do a big forensic overview of the crime scene. I immediately was like, why was this not done right away?
Yeah,
like
that's a good
you
point.
You didn't have a murder weapon at the time. You had no leads or anything. Why was the and I'm not trying to sound like I'm like, oh, I listen to all like true crime podcast stuff, but I was just like, why wasn't this should have just been done immediately, and I think would have been done
How was the area
immediately.
not
Yeah.
So
swept?
I do think that I think you make a good point, first of all, but I think to her argument might be that the body, when they found it, they knew that the murder wasn't committed there because they didn't find the body in the shed.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
they
yeah.
didn't know the site of the murder.
Like I said earlier, Cassie and Rob were like, they weren't like the superstars, but they were not like bad. And it just seemed like something that two cops that were, or investigators that were very dedicated to what they do, there seemed to be a
Should have been
disconnect
done.
there that we had. Like, obviously it is still fiction at the end of the day, so it's not a huge point, but that is something like I usually don't latch on to something like that.
Have
And
plot
that like
holes.
was a kind of a bell right away when I read it. When I was reading it, I didn't think, oh, they should do the forensic sweep of the thing. But then when they did it later, I was
But
like, why
after,
was this not done immediately by
Yeah.
two
You think
very
Maybe that's
competent and like caring investigators?
yeah. Maybe it was also to show that they were not locked in. Like there was mistakes they made from the start that could have just resolved all, like you said, like day one they could have gone in, found that murder weapon, and it would have been fine, you know.
You mean
But
if
I
they had done
think
that, you don't
like
really get
maybe
the book
it's
because you don't see his like
look,
fall into like the
his
darkness of his mind. Yeah. But
yeah.
I do want to sort of lean into the point of like, you do need a reasonable suspicion to do any of that, though.
she wrote a lot of people to be suspicious, which I thought was
Right.
like there
For
were
sure.
so
Yeah.
many lines of investigation that they had to do. Mark was suspicious, and like Phil talked about, then he was having an affair with one of the workers that he was there. So then he was like a little creepy
Right.
kind of. So you're like, okay, this guy. The dad was suspicious, and
The
they discover
dad.
like he had the
Yeah.
rape from back in the day.
Yeah.
The
Even the mom, because the Munchausen's,
Yeah.
like there was like moms usually will do the Munchausen thing.
and there was
Yeah.
someone else. Oh, and then the politician that was
Sam's
Sam's
uncle.
uncle. Like there were so many lines of investigation, and then to like see them all get so elated when they like kind of break
Peter
through a
out.
thing, and then like it fall apart and not be like you discover it's not it or couldn't be it for whatever reason, and then like fall down even deeper. Was just like what a roller coaster. Along with
I do
Right.
think that her
Yeah.
her giving us the murderer and that being so unsatisfying was really well done too. If she would have made his like story more coherent, because basically Rosalind seduces a guy to kill for her, and then she
Right.
proceeds to like rape the body and like horribly mutilate her little sister. But
No, the boy does that too. That's why they're confused, because the heart isn't in it. Like they can tell from like she makes him do all of that. She makes him use the trowel to mutilate her because it was like a half-hearted thing. That
I thought she
Cassie-
went
it's
in the
weird.
second night and did that without him.
she
No.
was like
No.
convinced
He did it
With,
he was supposed
that-
to rape and kill her.
Right.
And
And he
like,
couldn't do
He
it.
couldn't do it.
Which is
Yeah.
like, I mean, still fucked up.
Because she was
Like
like
saying-
convincing she was convincing him that she was manipulating the entire family when really like
Yeah.
Rosalind was manipulating
It was her.
And I
right.
think it's also like it's funny rereading it how you do get a sense of like little psychopathic things that are like not that innocent. Like when she was lying about being the best artist ever and that she got sick.
Right.
We're just like, this is a weird fucking lie. This is a weird.
But yeah, like why are you lying about
And he
Checkable
knew
lie
she was
to a
lying,
murder
but he
detective.
just like,
Yeah.
let her have it.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like sort of like
Yeah.
innocent but when you first read it, and then the second time you're just like, that's I mean,
there's something up it too.
I do
And the
think
whole
people
sister, like the little sister.
yeah, even in my real
Other
life, when
twin.
people lie about like easily checkable things, I'm like, you're sort of the psycho. Like there's something
Right.
going on with you.
What's up with you that you're lying about this?
Yes.
I just was gonna say I think I was satisfied with the I
Oh,
think that
yeah.
was a satisfying murder, though. The fact that she even convinced him to do it is also like another element, but
she gets away
that's
with
just
it
an aside.
because she's
Yeah.
underage. At the end of the
Yeah.
story, she's
Yeah.
and that's like he is alluding to the whole time his couple big ups, and that is like the biggest one where he
The biggest
assumed
one.
she was 18
She was 18.
or
Yeah.
18 and she wasn't.
Yeah, 18.
And
I mean, this
she
entire story is
gets
just
away,
about
like she doesn't
lack of
get
closure.
jail time. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was bad. Yeah. Oof.
Which is just like another piece of the pie of just like, no, she's giving us no closure with this entire book. Like
Yeah.
just everything is
Right.
left. And like the same thing, and it's like sort of like avoiding like consequences of avoiding all of these things that because I do
Right.
think he avoids
he's
like
going on-
actually
that have going
being
on.
like procedural in this stuff. And same thing with his relationship with Cassie too, where he's just avoiding these conversations, avoiding sort of
Well, from
trying
the
to
start,
take
he
you
should
out.
have never been
He shouldn't have been on this
Yeah.
case. Like, yeah, at
right from the
all.
start. He should have never been on the case. So it's like you said, Phil. Procedurally, he was off the mark from the start. And then
Yeah.
Isaac, you bring up the great point about not canvassing the whole area, whatever the laws may be, or however cooperative people were. Yeah,
Which is such a cool. I never really like put that together till now, but most of the other detective books you read, like our other two, Hawthorne is just a genius. Renee Ballard doesn't
Super
make
competent.
a single mistake. Where these guys are working hard and care about their thing, but they are like being humans and
they're tripping up.
Yeah.
making mistakes that end up costing them the case, which probably happens a lot more than we think. You know, which is like justice is not served
Technicalities in law.
because they forgot to do 2 or 3 things, you know,
Yeah.
or did
Yeah,
things
like-
out of
Well, I mean, isn't Bill Cosby
OJ.
out right now? Yeah, like I just all of these bullshit
So
things
many
that like I mean the
laws.
Miranda rights in themselves, those are read because some guy was like, I didn't know that they could use this in court. It's like pretty wild. I do think that just as sort of a plug for the rest of these books, I made a TikTok actually about the Dublin Murder Squad earlier today. And the theme of the TikTok was like, I need an extra session of counseling because I think these are absolutely brutal. Like, I couldn't stop reading, but I'm psychologically like, just like every character is so different and they're all they're flawed in
They've
their
got
own
their
different
demons.
ways. Yeah. And
Mhm.
but I do think like the rest of the series is so worth reading.
That's a good segue because my books were to just read the rest of the Dublin Murder
Yeah.
Squad if you liked these. I mean, it's a cop out, but don't stop at book 1. I think book 1 is definitely probably the most psychological, I think, but all of them are fabulous.
Yeah. Yeah, I am gonna just steal that as well. We're not.
It's hard to recommend something
They're
else. On this.
but they're all very different, and they're all the one thing that remains constant throughout, I do think, is the fact that Isaac said, like, there's mistakes that are made.
Yeah, but it's very well done.
I think we've said we talk about realism a lot, and we've talked about a lot for all 3 of these books, and I don't necessarily know that fiction needs to be realistic. Like, I don't think realism is a requirement to be a good detective novel or a good murder mystery novel. But the mistakes and it sounds like what you're saying that they continue are like, feel like super relatable. Like, if you were Rob
you
Ryan,
could make that mistake.
I would be just as f***ed up because of the stuff that he went through. Whereas Hawthorne, not really relatable at all because you don't really, you can't understand. Like, maybe some people like that
you
really
don't know
exist,
him.
but like to walk into a room and be like, oh, there's only 2 keys on 3 hooks and there's a white hair, so there's a cat and they have a cottage in like wherever it was. Like, you know, we can't do that, but we can, you know, mess up with your best friend and then be like, God, do I really do I talk to her about this or do I just ignore it and let my life fall apart? Like, you know? Or you can think, okay, this body was not murdered here. Why would I why would we waste the time doing this? We could go hunt other leads. Turns out we probably should have swept
No, we
the,
can't.
the crime scene, and this could have saved us a lot of turmoil. But that is like, that's
Yeah.
relatable. Like realism, I don't know if has anything to do with it, because it's very fun to read Hawthorne. It's very fun to read Renee Ballard, where she's just like hard charging.
Mhm.
But like, we would be like, I need to go sleep in a bed. The tent isn't going to cut it.
The tent's not cutting it.
But Rob drinking heavily after work because this case is so traumatic, and then not sleeping, and then just being hungover in court and fucking that up. Like, I'd be like,
Yeah.
I've
that's
pretty much done that.
realistic.
That was so funny. He just like shits the bed so hard on the way to
Yeah.
Yeah. Very, like you said, Isaac, not necessary, but definitely relatable.
Yeah,
for sure.
and that just
Yeah.
gives it a different air. And I think that is just another reason why this book was so great, because it is
Mhm.
really enjoyable to read the Harry Bosches and Renee Ballards. But at the end of the
Mhm.
day, I know I'm not capable of doing any
Of doing
that.
that stuff.
Whereas I could be Rob Ryan, like
Right. Yeah. Like
traumatic events were new.
Robert
Well,
Drew.
yeah, I was gonna say you didn't have any childhood friends.
Yeah, no,
God.
not like that, but like I said, they were
Yeah,
just normal. Minus, I mean,
Like
Rob
living
had
in
some
his
things we read,
mind
but-
is so easy.
Yeah.
Like living
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
him is so easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. That's a great point, Isaac. What book would you recommend, Isaac? Since you haven't read the rest of the series, you might actually be able to help people.
Yeah. So,
out.
for the at the risk of sound like a broken record, it's another Michael Connolly book. It's called The Poet. It's the Jack McEnvoy series. He's a fictional journalist in the same universe in Los Angeles that Michael Connolly has created. But this one is probably one of the more psychological Michael Connolly. That's why I thought of it. The guy that he's like writing about, that's his killer, is really a whack job. And then even more so, I think The Thing, and I said this in the intro episode, like if this was a cool book and you're looking to take a little break from reading, watch True Detective season 1. That I think is the best. Like I immediately thought of this as soon as this guy started spiraling. I just thought of Matthew McConaughey writing in his notebook and carving up those cans with his knife. Like those two are like two peas in a pod. And the whole like disappearance with nothing really happening, and like the True Detective has that whole swamp people thing, like just so many times I was like, wow, this is just like that season.
Maybe better to say, if you like True Detective, you should read this book, because maybe people
probably
have
that is
heard
probably
of
it.
it.
Like that's a good way to put it.
A good plug for this. Yeah, it was a 5 for me. I think best book that we read for the chapter.
Yeah, it was a 5 for me as well.
Yeah, same for me. I think my order would be this one, The Late Show, then The Word Is Murder.
Same for me.
I would put The Word Is Murder ahead of The Late Show, but I do think all three of them are worth reading.
Worth the read.
Especially, it just depends on your poison. But I think this one is the only one where it does not. I wouldn't recommend this book to anybody. Like I wouldn't be like, oh, you like cop dramas? Okay, then Renee out. I would be like, you should read this book.
You should read this for sure.
I think that one thing before this, a little bit off tangent, but she does relationships so well. And even like these relationships that don't even matter, like his relationship with his roommate is so funny. His him avoiding her and being like, fuck her. Like her and her Sunday night is her care night, so I can see him like
but it is just goes
him eating her
it
food.
goes with the theme of him avoiding, like he's just avoiding doing anything about it, so he just continues to live there and suffer
with her.
Like he should just move.
Right, he's a full adult. That's so funny. Cool. Well, I really enjoyed this one. I think before we go for the next chapter, we are going to read books that have inspired either recently released or about to be released movies. So we're going to read The Odyssey by Stephen Fry, Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte, and Hamnet, which just has recently been released by Maggie O'Farrell. So really looking forward to those 3 books. We read a Bronte sister book last year. I've read Stephen Fry, and I have seen previews for Hamnet. So excited to read the 3 of those and excited to discuss with both of you and our listeners.
Yeah, and I think the movies are all
And-
like pretty heavy hitters, like all really
Yeah.
big names.
So excited to read all those with you. And this is your bi-weekly reminder to call someone that you love, tell them that you love them, tell them about a good book, tell them about chapter 1 of the Beyond the First Page podcast, where we discuss detective novels. And until we talk again, stay classy, second pagers. We'll see you later.
All right. Bye, guys.
Let's
See you
go
guys.
beyond the first page.